So if we've been doing the right thing, we have high potential or high pots in our organization. Now, one thing we've got to be careful of is making sure we're not burning them out. So the whole idea of having high potential, sometimes the things that identify them is that they're very capable. And that often leads to being able to give them more responsibilities because they follow through, they get the job done, they're highly efficient at what they do. But from experience, what I've noticed for myself as well as coaching others is we sometimes get confused with capability and capacity and often push more, expect more from the capacity side of that high pot versus the capability. Now, there's always times in business when there's peak demand. People step up and definitely take care of business. But there is a trend with high pots that this is continuously over time, more and more responsibility is handed, and that capacity gets tougher and tougher to deal with. We're not going to hear a lot from these people because the nature of what they do, they pride themselves in being able to accomplish what needs to get done in the business. But this will, underneath it all, kind of start leading to some imbalance in how they're perceiving the workplace and the company where they're with, and eventually it can lead to attrition. And believe me, it'll happen very quickly when that happens. These high potentials, the future potential leaders of the company, when that capacity balance is completely off for a sustained period of time, they will disappear. So the first thing we've got to be thinking about is that point about capacity. And there's part that as a leader we have to reflect on, to think through that capacity piece with the high potential, and then the other piece of it is to ask the right questions. So the first piece, us thinking about it, when we're adding responsibility, what's that thinking inside of our mind with, what is this actual task or responsibility doing? If we might be very quickly, that person can handle it, it's just a little bit extra to do. Let's just stop and think and really think through what time is needed to do this job properly, because it's going to get done properly by that person. They're going to take the time, they're going to think through, because that's the type of person they are. So first of all, ourselves thinking through that capacity, thinking about how much this is going to add on, even if it's ballparking figures, but putting that time together. Is it something they've got to do every day? Is it an hour of their day? Is it a couple of hours of their day? Is there feedbacks and check-ins they've got to do with other people that are all going to take time? How does this all add up? And also, what's going to break if we need to take some other responsibility off? Is there something that we can help that capacity by adding something, but then also removing it and moving it to some other department, some other person? And then there also is the other part of the check-ins. So checking in with that person on the responsibility. Hey, let's double back and check in with how we're doing with getting everything done, and doing that before it becomes a crisis. That's the times we often check in with high potentials is, whoa, wait a minute, this isn't going the way we thought. There's a bit of a crisis here, or something's not getting done. Let's jump in and figure out what it is. That's just too late. They've gone through all the figuring out themselves. Hopefully they'd come and talk to us about it. But that's, again, they'll try to figure it out and be the hero, right? So we want to reach out to them proactively and get that understanding about their capacity using tools like default diaries, time blocking. Those type of tools that the high pot's using can make that discussion really proactive and informative for both parties to really see how they're spending their day and what they're working on. The second important piece, and it's really not just for the high pot discussion, but it's maybe overall leadership, but rewarding the output versus the effort. And I'm guilty of this for sure too, and it's very easy to kind of come off the tongue, which is to reward someone for the hard work that they did. So what are we doing? We're reinforcing a lot of hard work, and which is important in the business, but pulling it back to the output of what the outcome of what was put together, allowing people to think a little differently and reward potentially, giving permission for people to think smarter, and getting the result done that they need for the business, but not necessarily the hardest effort that had to be put together. We want to really, we probably all say it to people as well in our teams. How do we do this the simplest way, so it's the easiest way to do it, with the least amount of effort, but really rewarding that inside of the business, inside of that person, publicly. Work smarter, not harder. How do we do that? How do we reward prioritization, decision making on what's the biggest impacts that they need to do to get the job done? And the third thing that has worked really well is developing recovery or growth plans for those high potentials. That could be to do with building skills and training. One that I've used with many of the businesses and executive coaching that I've done for their teams has been the 12-week management program. So again, it's not adding on to the individuals another responsibility without a little bit of a redistribution of work that has to happen. These are supervisors and managers. There's a team that can absorb some of this for a period of time, but allowing them to grow within the business, new skills, new needs that they have to learn new things. That's one thing with high potentials, is they're always wanting to learn and need. So redistribution of responsibilities is a good way to look at that. Is there ways that we can redistribute it within their team or in a larger plant facility to look at how that's all balancing around, but giving them relief time, again, so that there's these peaks and troughs inside of all businesses and capacity and problems that come up and we need to jump on them, but making sure that there are those times where they have that capacity or using some of that capacity to learn and grow and learn those skill sets that you want them to have to grow into the future leaders of the organization. So in the end, sustainable performance comes from leaders that can grow their employees the best, not just extract the most from them. So if you're looking at your employees, if you've gone through succession mapping and identified high potentials, it might be a great time to reach out and to talk about how we can build a plan for those individuals, not just for today, but how that can happen inside of your business for the future, and really help develop and cultivate those employees that are going to be the future going forwards. I'm Andrew Buchan, your Business Accelerator.